Hi, I am Russian Bear, and today we will talk about politics and war conflicts. It's right now we have almost World War III, and first of all, I want to say to my support to everyone who suffered. I don't take any sides. Just all people who suffer, they shouldn't, and people shouldn't shoot to each other. It's a bad thing. And now I want to talk about the reasons behind this situation. Why Russia and Ukraine has conflict, and I'll give you simple 5 reasons why it happened. They are very clear to me because I am into Russian politics, into Ukraine situation for a long time. So there are several reasons. First, let me go through them, and then we'll discuss them, and then I'll give you some more detailed information, interesting information, considering the situation and what will happen in future. So the reasons why this situation happened. First, Kiev, Ukraine government, they say everywhere, they said it at Russia, at television, at some summits, that they actually wouldn't follow Minsk agreement, and they for 8 years they do not plan to do it. Minsk agreement for Russian government, for Ukraine government, it's anti-governmental thing, they said, but they signed that they shouldn't do it. So it was first reason. Then for last years, Ukraine said everywhere that they want to join NATO, 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 we call it NATO, West Alliance. So for Russia, it will make very close. If Ukraine will join NATO, actually it's not the problem of real nuclear bases there, but actually it's the problem of very closed border, which in traditional war will mean another front, which is a very bad thing. So it's not real. It's not really only missiles which NATO could put there, but because there are missiles in some other countries, like NATO countries like Latvia and other Baltic countries, NATO Baltic countries, and they actually closer to Moscow. But the problem is that Ukraine, it's very close to border, and we have 2,000 kilometers border, which means that it will be very bad tactical position. So first, it's Ukraine decline follow Minsk agreement. Second, Ukraine want to join NATO, and they push this question. Then actually NATO gave Ukraine weapons. It happened at 23rd of January this year. They gave to Ukraine 170 tons of weapons, including javelins, anti-tank systems. So 170 tons, it's a lot of weapons. And so NATO already gave weapons to Ukraine. So it's another reason. And it happened like a month before the conflict started. Another problem, so before 5, but it was not enough. And the most important reason, that Zelensky, president of Ukraine, he had his word in Munich Conference of Security, Munich Security Conference in Germany, and there he said that Ukraine wish to cancel Budapest Memorandum. What is Budapest Memorandum? Budapest Memorandum, it's document which says that Ukraine agree not to develop nuclear weapon, not to have nuclear weapon. So Zelensky said at 19th of February, 5 days before conflict started, 5 days, it was the last region actually. Zelensky said that they actually want to exit memorandum which prevent Ukraine to have nuclear weapons. And for Russia having, if Ukraine will have nuclear weapon, it's actually possible because they have a scientific base for it, because they had, when in USSR times, Ukraine had a lot of nuclear scientists, and also Ukraine right now has nuclear atomic stations, so they could create dirty bomb. This is a really dangerous thing actually. So the last trigger toward the war conflict which we have right now was made by President Zelensky, not Putin actually. Putin, he just reacted on it. So the 5 days before the war conflict started, President Zelensky declared at Munich Conference of Security in Germany, he declared that Ukraine, for 4th time, they creating group, they want to review this Budapest memorandum and to get out of this Budapest memorandum, to be able to have nuclear weapons. So it was the last trigger for Putin. Of course, Putin, in Russia, our government, our military forces, as military forces of all big countries, they have different plans like schedules and strategies, different, which are like mind maps. There are a lot of different variants, and for any cases, in case if something bad will happen, we will react like this. So of course, Putin also had the situation. He had an answer. If Ukraine made some stuff, he will answer in certain way. So again, I do not want to be a lawyer, Putin's lawyer. I do not want to say that okay, I am against any shooting. In this video, I just want to explain why this situation happened. So this situation happened because Ukraine Ukraine declined to follow Minsk agreement for 8 years. They didn't do nothing. Actually, they made it worse. Then Ukraine wanted to join NATO, and they declared it everywhere. Where at the same time, NATO, they said in the past that they wouldn't expand, and now they kind of, with Ukraine, they do not want to give insurance for Russia that Ukraine wouldn't join, and Ukraine on other side do not want to give Russia guarantees that they wouldn't join. So it's kind of the problem. Next thing, NATO already delivered a lot of weapons to Ukraine, these javelins. It was the month before conflict started. And 5 days before conflict started, Zelensky declared that, I think we should have nuclear weapons. Actually, what he said in different words, but it's kind of meaning of it. And I don't think I have these proofs. Just take a look. Just Google Zelensky speech at Munich conference, and you will see these words about Budapest memorandum, that they want to review them. And it's kind of, you could call it casus belli. In this time, it wasn't Ferdinand, like in First World War. This time it was like several steps which Ukraine made, constantly made, to make this situation more tense. So again, I'm against shooting, but I kind of understand why this situation happened. Now, I see a lot of how Western world answers to it. That a lot of corporations, they stopping working in Russia, a lot of economical sanctions and restrictions. What I could say, you know that actually we are regular people in Russia who live there. We suffer from it. Putin do not suffer from it for real. It doesn't make Putin to go back, or he do not have any space to step back. So when you do something toward Russia, when you make certain limitations, sanctions, for example, right now I can't use Airbnb. I can't move out of Russia. Even there are people in Russia who do not like this situation and they want to go out somewhere and they can't, because Europe and other countries, they forbid for Russians to fly. So you can't use airplanes. Then all these systems, financial systems, we can't use now a lot of like we can't use our credit cards like Visa, MasterCard. How it influences on Putin? It doesn't influence on Putin, because it influences on people who have these products, regular people, common people, and I feel it like it's cancel culture towards Russia. I think I understand why it happened, but it's not smart, it's not wise what they are doing, because it wouldn't make Russia really Russia wouldn't surrender because of it. Russia will become more angry, more angry. Of course, in long-term perspective, it will weaken Russia. It will weaken Russia, and Russian peoples, they will become poorer. Yes, and actually, European and USA people, all people will become poorer because of it. Because a lot of business, it will become bankrupt. Because these sanctions, they are bad for everyone, actually. But actually, it wouldn't influence right now at the politics in Russia, because what I could say, a lot of people, they support Putin, and it's how it is in Russia. I am minority. I am not Putin supporter. I do not vote for Putin. I vote against for some other people. But a lot of my people who I know, for example, some people, my relatives, my friends, I know that they support him and they support all his decisions. It's kind of half of people in Russia, they support Putin. Live with it. And if situation will become worse, these people, they wouldn't change their mind, because a lot of people, they are very scared. They're very scared, and Putin, he can just make life harder for everyone. That's it. So he wouldn't lose power. Putin is like Tsar in Russia, and he's Tsar. He kind of control everything. So all stuff which Europe and USA making right now, it's first of all Ukraine conflict. It's mistake of Europe and USA leaders, because they were stubborn. They didn't understood that Russia also has some geopolitical interests, and that if Ukraine will join NATO, it will. They provoke this conflict. First of all, then, of course, Zelensky, when he started to tell about nuclear weapons, it was really, really bad thing to tell, to start this rhetorics. It's just provoked Putin. So after 5 days, after Zelensky had his speech, conflict started. So Zelensky pulled the trigger, actually. And then Putin started this thing. It wasn't smart thing, so it was provocation from all sides, and right now just common people will suffer from it. That's it. It wouldn't, and already suffering. I mean, not only people in Ukraine who lost their houses and some lost their lives because of these political mistakes, but also people in Russia also suffer because this all provokes panic. This all provokes the sanction which Europe and USA apply to common Russian people. It will just make their life worse, but it wouldn't change political situation. So it's pointless thing to do. At least at short terms or mid terms. I mean, maybe in some years it will change somehow, but so what I could say. Another interesting thing that actually Putin and Biden this summer, and last summer, Putin and Biden, they had meeting. And after that meeting, it was really understandable that Biden and Putin had an agreement. It's very simple situation actually, because right now in the world, we have two super countries. It's USA and China. And they are main competitors. And they kind of have cold war between each other. They hate each other. They try to, they have war, economical war right now. So for USA, it's very important so that Russia wouldn't join China. Russia is not really a strong player there because we have only 2% of economics in the world. In Russia, it's not too much. But still, Russia has a lot of resources, and if Russia will be ally to China, for USA it will be a very bad thing. So Biden and Putin, last summer, they had an agreement, everybody know about it, I mean, people who look into politics, that Putin wouldn't be allied to China, and at the same time, Biden and NATO and USA, they wouldn't they closed their eyes on Putin's actions on Ukraine. Of course, Putin planned to something at Ukraine. At least he planned to legalize LNR and DNR. So this small part of eastern Ukraine, which Ukraine should made autonomous due a Minsk agreement. So it was planned that Putin, he will just legalize them. That's it. And he did it at first. And like Putin and Biden had agreement that if Putin will do it, Biden wouldn't make something bad in terms of sanctions. But then situation changed because of NATO delivered weapons, 170 tons weapons, javelins to Ukraine at the January. Then 5 days before, Zelensky started to talk about nuclear stuff, about Budapest Memorandum, which also, I doubt that he made it by himself. I think maybe he had some consultation, I don't know. Anyway, it was kind of pulled the trigger. And we have another situation. And actually it's funny that still Putin and Biden, they still have this agreement because USA government, they do not haste to apply some sanctions. So Europe right now much more active in the sanctions than USA still. It's really funny when you understand what behind it. But still, USA can't just do not apply these sanctions because there is a community, there is this cancel culture. It works on political level too. So if everybody against, we should be against too, even if we have agreement. We had an agreement. Okay. So yeah, it's how I look at this situation. It's what I think personally. And of course, right now situation which we have, it's awesome. Putin, he tried to make blitzkrieg, so to make it fast and furious, But it seems this situation not of course, Russia has much more power than Ukraine, 100 times more. But still, at first, as it was planned as Blitzkrieg, Russian army had certain like rules at first of this start of this special operation, and do not touch any cities, do not distract like buildings, such stuff. But then it was understandable that situation do not go too easy, and they changed their plan. But so now it's going much slower than it was planned, and it makes all this situation much worse, because actually with this agreement with Biden, I think Putin, he thought, okay, we will make very fast and furious lightning speed operation, and that's it. So just cut half and change government fast. But he called it denazification. In Putin's rhetorics, Putin means that people who rule in Ukraine, they are kind of Nazi. Some of them, I think that some of them could be, but a minority, really minority. Anyway, actually, Zelensky, he made. I understand why Putin say like this, because actually Zelensky, when he just started his elections, before he became a president, his presidential campaign, he had a lot of speeches which he made in Ukraine language and in Russian language, 50-50. So half of speech he made in Ukraine, half of speech he made in Russian. It's how he came to power. So Zelensky came to power because in Ukraine, like half of people, they speak Russian, even maybe more, in regular basis. They do not just know this language, but they use it all the time. Also, there are some medium languages, like which is mix of Russian and Ukraine. But anyway, it's I understand Russian, Ukraine language, and I live in Russia, so it's very close stuff. But anyway, Zelensky at first he started to his campaign. Half of his speeches, half of any speech he spoke in Ukraine, half of speech he speak in Russian. Then when he became president, he stopped using Russian at all. So all his past speeches, it's all in Ukraine only. He didn't use Russian language. After he became president, he stopped to use it. But when he made speech toward people, so they will vote for him, for Ukrainians, or he made 50% of speech in Ukrainian, 50% of the same speech in Russian. So he actually, it's kind of fooled people, because he said, okay, I'll be president of all Ukrainians, no matter which language you speak. But then he stopped using Russian at all. And it's kind of very, so it's another kind of point why Putin thought that there are Nazi, because actually Russian language has a lot of problems in Ukraine for last years, because government it's kind of make pressure into it. So it's understandable why. It's because of this LNR DNR situation, and they had conflict for all these 8 years. But actually Zelensky didn't make anything to stop it. He just made it worse, and it was possible to just legalize this LNR DNR and stop this conflict. So they just didn't want it, because it will lower Zelensky rating. Zelensky, it's a politician who just want his rating to be very high. It's his goal, that's it. right now, okay, he acts like a hero. He is an actor, so he play a hero, and he's brave man. Okay, I respect him, but actually, he made several mistakes, which led to the start of this awful situation. At the same time, Putin, he also mistaken. He thought that this will be a blitzkrieg, very fast operation, and that's it. But we see right now that it's not too fast. So yeah, this is hard times for everyone. I hope that I wish that people will stop shooting and start talking. Of course, right now I see that almost all Western world, they kind against Russia, against Russians, and they said that okay, it's our we are who Ukraine, it's victims, and we are aggressor. And what I could say, okay, of course, Ukraine weaker, much weaker country, much smaller, not really much smaller. It's a huge country with 50 million of people living there. In Russia, we have 150 million, so 3 times less. But still, Ukraine, it's huge territory, and but the problem is that there were 8 years when then Russia tried to persuade Ukraine to follow this Minsk agreement, and Ukraine tried everything to do not follow them. That's it. So it's really stupid, and really stupid that NATO was very stubborn and harsh in their rhetoric towards Russia. They forgot that Russia actually also has some ambitions. It's a big country, you know, biggest country in the world by territory at least. So politicians, Western politicians, they have full responsibility on this situation. The same as Putin, the same as Zelensky. So, but what they do right now, they also trying to save their rating, political rating. So people will vote for them again. So that's why they say, "Oh, okay, Russia is bad, very bad, very bad, very bad, and we are good. You see, we're stopping Russia. We're trying to stop Russia. We're making these sanctions, and these sanctions they just make Russian people, common Russian people, more poor. That's it. They do not make Putin more poor. They do not make Putin life really harder. Actually." It's vice versa. I mean, Russian character, you know, Russians, the worse it become, the more powerful they become. It's our kind of feature. Every country has its own features, you know, and Russian feature, it's kind of, we have, when somebody fucks us, we become stronger. We have such a proverb in Russia, you know. Нас ебут, а мы крепчаем. So actually, it will just, it wouldn't make a situation better. That's it. So I hope people will stop shooting and start talking, and they will stop doing stupid things, and will start to talking and respect each other. So the reason of this war conflict is disrespect. Actually, the first reason. And disrespect, sometimes people starting fighting because of it. If you will say offending words towards somebody once, he may forgive you. Twice, he also may like ignore you. But when you do it all the time, these people will eventually hit you, and people will start fighting. So disrespect leads to the fights. People should, and countries, they should respect each other. Thank you very much for watching. Hope to see your comments. Bye bye. Peace.